take some candy from the store, like Nellie?
No, he robbed a store with a gun.
Took their money?
Took their money and hit somebody in the head with a gun.
Oh.
And he had to go to jail and prison for 10 years.
Why did Marjorie like him?
Because he was the only guy that liked Marjorie.
Oh.
Nobody liked Marjorie because Marjorie was mean and cruel.
And her mom was sick?
And her mom was very old and needed to have someone help her, but all she could get was the nurse to help her because her daughter was not helping her at all.
Did she like the nurse?
She really liked the nurse.
Mrs. Caldwell liked the nurse, okay.
So one night in the fall, it was raining and thunderstorms, and it was raining really, really hard. And Mrs. Caldwell was getting ready for bed, and the nurse was going to put her to bed. And all of a sudden, lightning struck, and the lights went out. And the nurse started to put Mrs. Caldwell to bed, and the lights went out. And she couldn't help her get to bed because they had to get a candle to light. So the nurse went to get a candle and left Mrs. Caldwell in her bedroom. Not in her bed, but in the bedroom. And the nurse went to get the candle, and all of a sudden Mrs. Caldwell heard a thump on the floor in the hallway, because she remembers Mrs. Caldwell was in the bedroom, and she heard a thump, and she called for the nurse, and there was no answer.
Nurse, I need help.
What she saw was the candle had fallen onto the floor, and she was afraid it was going to start a fire. So Mrs. Caldwell wheeled her wheelchair out into the hallway, and she's tried to put the fire out of the candle, and so she tried to use her foot to get it to put it out, and when she tried to put the foot on it, all of a sudden somebody pushed her wheelchair down the steps in the house. And Mrs. Caldwell went boom, 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 down
in the
wheelchair, and she was screaming, and she didn't know who pushed her, and she got to the bottom of the steps, and she banged her head, and she looked up the steps, and there was her daughter Marjorie with the candle and a flashlight. And
in the library with the candlestick.
And saw that it was her daughter, and she said, "Help me, help me." And she just laughed.
Oh, she was evil.
She just laughed. And she said, "Help me, Marjorie." And she wasn't going to help her mom at all.
There's a train a-coming.
The train is coming.